saying that. Once we get everything through and next week, we'll come in and you can disconnect your dot loop at that point. We're going to have access to it probably for another 90 days or so. And I'm kind of guessing in that because we have to give them a notice of a 90-day notice that we're going to be moving from them, even though we won't have access to new forms. Remind me when we get back through here, I want to talk about what you do with your existing loops and so forth out there. But right now I want to jump over here and we're going to do create an opportunity inside of Command and actually connect it over and into DocuSign. Okay. So it's just from this point, it's just like we've always done before. I'm going to use my same fictitious person because I've got it set up where I can kind of jump over to that other and jump back and forwards over to show you some signature and signing options for what my client would look like. All right, so I'm going to go in here and say I'm going to look if I've entered in George Washington. So I've got George and I'm going to pull him up here. So there's George Washington I've entered in. I can go right from here, like I was showing you the other day. I can go right from here and go into my opportunities and I can create an opportunity right there. So this is really beneficial if Lena's got a brand new contact and she just enters them in here. And as soon as she enters them, she's ready to make an offer or list the property. I could go straight into opportunity and not actually having to go down to the opportunity window here. So I'm going to click on create an opportunity. And it's going to automatically put George's name in the first type field. I'm going to choose a listing. I could put George's wife as Martha in here, put Martha in. I'm not going to do that at this time because I only want to show one signing here. And so I'm going to 1, 2, 3, 4, Washington Way. And I'm going to put Washington Way and I'm going to do Spring Hill. All right, so from there, I'm going to put my estimated closing date, just going to grab me a date out here in the future. And my list price, I'll come in here and put this one as 150,000. My commission rate, this is going to be an active listing and I'm actually in the showing phase or will be in the showing phase. And so I create that. When it does, it automatically creates the opportunity for me, which is right here at the top. I click on it. It's going to take me straight into that opportunity. I could have done this just as easy as I said, come down to opportunity, click on create, added it, and it would have done the same thing. I just did it so while I'm in there. All right, so what we've always had along, we should be starting right here at the left with details. If I have a listing, I should select my listing and it would pull it out of the MLS and it would populate some of this data for me here. Since I'm using a fictitious address, I'm going to make sure I go into the details. I'm going to add me my property location. It's in the United States. And I think I remembered the address. Yeah, 123 Washington, 1234 Washington Way. And I put that in Spring Hill. If I can spell right this morning. I put it in Spring Hill and Tennessee. This all would have populated if this would have been a correct address. It's in Murray 37174. All right, so I create this that information and it actually populates in here. The reason I'm doing all these details, anything I put in these details section here are going to move over into DocuSign for us. So my next step, this is what we've always done before. We click on the documents. Under the documents tab, what type of a room, a list, checklist is this? What is this? I know it's a listing. Is it a residential? Is it a land lot, new construction, referral, or commercial? I'm going to say this one is a residential. It's going to automatically then pop in my pick list, my template of all the forms. As I was mentioning the other day, this new DS in the sign here is forms that I've created that will, not created, but forms that the state has created and put into DocuSign. And these will automatically pull into our DocuSign room because it has that DS sign by them. So those forms will automatically pull in there. I've done my details, I've done my documents, I've selected my pick list, and now I want to go over and start filling out the forms. As I said earlier, this side is just bringing in finished forms that have already been completed and signed. I'm going to do my drop down here, and I want to go to DocuSign. Now, word of caution, if you accidentally click on dot loop and you start this loop, you can't transfer it back to DocuSign afterwards. You'd have to create a whole new opportunity to change it over to DocuSign. So just be careful. That's one of the reasons that we'll actually turn dot loop off once we get everything and everybody moved over. So I click on the DocuSign. It's going to pop me up my DocuSign sign-in window. And it gets this information, knows where to grab this information because of my setup that I did in Command under the settings. It brings this in, and we're going to see if it brings me my pick list. Went me straight in. I was trying to make a change to that the other day, and it looks like it may have worked. So, all right. So now I'm in my dashboard. I'm actually in the room for 123 4 Washington Way that I created over inside of the opportunity. All right, from here, the first thing I want to do is I want to click on the details section. Okay, just like I would have done over in Command. I want to get all my details and so forth in there. When I pull this up, it's going to bring me the details window of DocuSign. One of the most important sections is the far right. You'll see the seller 1, seller 2, the listing agent, and so forth. These are all the major players in the real estate transaction. Will be down the far right. All right. The left side will be all the information that has to do with the transaction itself. So I'm going to click on the edit, and that will allow me to update these areas. So I go through here and I can update anything that I need to update in here. If I have my MLS number, I put my MLS number in here. I'm just grabbing the number there. Where the lead came from. Is this do I have an offer? Is it a new listing? I'm just going to put new listing. Whatever information I need in here. What's the state? For some reason, when I did that, because I didn't verify it out of the MLS, it didn't pull my state in. So I'd go in here, year's date, what my listing date's going to be. So if I say it's going to go in listing today, when my expiration date, so forth, I would put all this information in here. Let me go ahead and put my listing price in here, so it'll populate in for me. All right, and then so I would just continue filling down whatever information I needed in here. I would fill all that out, and then once I'm through, on the far right side, I have my seller in here. All right, so I have George Washington in here as my seller. I'm actually going to change this so I can send it to my own email address just to see. We'll use a fictitious email address so I can send it to myself. I put George in there, and I would come here for my seller 2. I could add Martha in here as a seller 2. I'm not going to put Martha in now, but I could add her, put all of her contact information. The listing agent is Don. There's his contact information that pulled forward. Then I would go in here. If it was a co-agent, then I would put the co-agent. At this point, I don't have buyers, so I'd have the buyer's agent, buyer 1, buyer 2, and then the buyer's agent. I'm going to click on save, and then now I have saved everything in the details section. And from there, now I'm going back across the top, and I'm going to the document section. Inside the document section, the difference between dot loop and DocuSign is when I come into my DocuSign room here, it brings all the documents into one folder that's called Room Docs. Okay. So that brings everything. These are the documents that were, when I came into Command over here, that had the DS beside it, that were kind of the blue-green looking color. Those are the documents that automatically populated in here. There are 3 different types of documents you're going to see in here. The first type of document, which is in here right now, is this little paper looking thing here, and it's blue and it says form. These are forms that are either the state of Tennessee forms or our office forms that we can, that are set up to auto-populate off of these details section that's in here. So when I'm in my details section, it auto-fills those forms off of all this information that I've actually put in here. So these are these are the state forms that we fill out. The second type of form that you're going to see in there, and I don't have any in right now. I'll tell you what, I'll add one. I want to add maybe in these forms here, I'm in this room, and maybe I need to add a lead paint. So when I click on add, when I go on add, I want to add it from DocuSign Rooms. I can get it from my computer, or I can get it from DocuSign Rooms. All right, when I click on my DocuSign Room, the bottom down here is the libraries, and these are where all the forms are that are auto-populate. These are the ones with the blue squares that says form. Our 502 forms, these are all of our office forms that's out here. Bill of sale, disclosures, checklist, real check status forms, whatever, Trek 1 forms, all those forms are out there. If I need a Tennessee real estate form, I click on the next folder, which says TAR. And if I want lead paint, if I know the number, I can put the number, or I can type in lead. When I type in lead, then I know I'm looking for a 209, which is lead paint disclosure. And I click on add, and it will add that form to me. All right. When I add this form, you can see now it is still a blue form, meaning I can fill it out, and it's interactive that fills out. If I have a form that I want to download that's from a PDF, when it comes in, it's going to be red. I'll show you one of those in a second. The biggest key to remember is any form that is blue, they get completed and filled out right here in the room documents field. So I filled those out there. The PDFs, which are red, can only be filled out in the envelopes, and I'll show you that in a second how that works. Okay. So I want now, in order to kind of organize this a little better, this is my suggestion, and this is kind of how I'm going to be doing things. I'm going to add a folder, and my folder is going to be called Listing Docs. So this is kind of the same way that we had with .loop. I created .loop that automatically created these folders for you. Inside of DocuSign, I can't automatically create it for you. I can go in now and show you how to create a folder that says Listing Docs, and then I can go in here and say, well, what documents do I want to move up into my Listing Docs? All right, maybe I want to have my right to list. When I grab a hold of it and pull it up here, when I go into that folder, it's going to turn with a blue square around it, and it's going to let me move that form into the Listing Docs. I wish, and hopefully in the near future, we'll be able to attach multiples. I would love to be able to check this box and this box and move them all up there. They keep saying that eventually they're going to give us an option up here at the top that will let me see if that works. We'll see. I'm going to see if it'll move. I'm curious. I'm just really, look at there. They did change that for us. Good deal. That was what I was curious about. They were supposed to be changing it for us, and they just did, which is great. So if you saw what I was doing, I was having to drag them one at a time to move them. Now I'm able to go here and select the documents that I want to move up into that room. Maybe I want the wiring fraud. So I want all 3 of those documents to move to my folder that's called Listing Documents. Then I just go up here now and I click on Move, and I say I want to move it to my folders, and the folder I want to move it to is my Listing Document folder, and I click Move, and it moves them all for me at one time. That's really a good thing that's happened in the last very few days that happened for us. All right, so from here, I need to fill out these forms. These are blue forms, so that means I can fill them out in here. So I open up my confirmation, my list, right to list. When I open up my right to list form, then I would actually go through this form now and fill out all the information that needs to be updated and filled out. You can see that Keller Williams Realty is put in there, my Spring Hill office address, because that's where I'm out of. I would have Martha's name here at the back if I had Martha's name, and so forth. I could continue filling these things out if I needed to add something, and I'm just going to put something in there just to show if I added it. It gives me my 150. I could spell out my price and so forth. I'm not going to fill this out today, but I would fill all this information out. Once I fill it out, I would hit save and close, and that document is through. Then I would move on to my next document that I need to fill out. And when it gets through loading. And so the next document, I've done the right to list. I'm not going to do a property condition disclosure this morning for the sake of time. I'd open up my lead paint form. When I open up my lead paint, then it's going to give me my preview. That's when I come back in there, it'll show me my preview on the front. I go through here. If there's anything I need to update or do in my lead form, it would automatically, I would fill out what I need to. Now, because I've did in the detail section and put the sellers and the buyers and so forth in there, it knows who needs to sign where in these forms because they're optimized from the state. All right, I've got that one through. And now I'm going to go to my confirmation of agency. And in my confirmation of agency, I would fill this form out. It's going to have George's name already in there for me. It's going to have my name in there. Then I can come down here and put designated agent for the seller and then just save and continue on through all the forms. All right. And now I would go to my disclaimer, fill out the disclaimer. Wiring fraud, I would do the same thing with wiring fraud. I'm not going to actually go through all those. Now I'm ready to get them signed. So in order to sign them next, I highlight which forms or check which forms do I want to send in this packet. I always give an example, and it sounds kind of cheesy, but I gave the example the other day when with Steve in there. If I was going to send Steve a birthday card, I would reach over, pick up the birthday card. Here's the birthday card. I would fill out that birthday card, and now I want to send it to him. Well, how am I going to send it to him? I'm going to mail it. So I've got my forms filled out. I've got my birthday card filled out, and now I want to send them over to get the signatures. So I highlight or check which forms I want to send. I could do it one of two ways. I could go in and I'm going to put them in an envelope to send them. I could have clicked on the envelopes here and selected the forms from there. But if I'm already at this screen, I know which forms I want to do. I can just put the blue check marks in the forms that I want and go up here to the top and click create envelope. Anytime I put a check marks and select any form, it brings me up these other options up here that I can split them, move them, email them. So if I need to email a copy to my client to look at before they sign it, maybe I've done an offer. I did this just the other day. I created an offer. I emailed it to my client right out of here before I ever sent it to them to sign and say, all right, here's the information that you said. Here's the price. Here's what you requested. Do you see any changes? They said no. Then I come back in here, click this button for envelope. It then takes those forms and moves them over into an envelope. Now, the difference that happens is every time I send out a section of forms to sign, it creates a different and new envelope form. All right, so this is the first envelope I'm creating for this deal, and I'm going to call this envelope name, and it's very important that you name this envelope so you'll know what it is. It says, please DocuSign, and then, then if you just left it at that, all your envelopes are going to say, please DocuSign, and you won't know what's in each envelope. So I'm going to put these are my listing docs. So these are my listing documents that's there. There are the forms that I'm actually putting in there. I've got my TAR forms, my confirmation of agency, right to list, and so forth. If I need to add another one, I click on room docs. It brings me my list of the room document forms over there, and I choose which one I want to add. And it lets me pull those forms and be able to add those in. Now, the next thing that's very important for you is who do you send this to? Because I set up in the details section, the important people on the far right side, we need to make sure we use the pre-tag roles right here. It's going to bring me up a list and say, all right, you want to use pre-tag roles? Who are they? Who are the players in this deal? I want to use the seller one, and I do my drop down and say my seller is George Washington. I go to seller two and I'll drop down and say, oh, there's Martha Washington. Well, I don't have Martha in there, but I pick my seller two. If I had the buyers, I put the buyers in it. Listing agent is Don Nugent. So I'm going to pull here and I'm going to go grab Don Nugent, and he's the listing agent. Then I would put the buying agent, listing broker, and so forth. I would add that information into the forms as my pre-tag roles list. What happens right here, and I don't have Martha in here, but assume that Martha's in here. If I had George Washington, seller one, and I had right here, had seller two with Martha in here, both of them are going to have a number one beside them. So what that means is when I send them to sign, when I say what rights do I give them out here, do I need them to view, to receive a copy or whatever, if I need them to sign, then it's going to send it to them both at the exact same time. They'll both get them simultaneously together. If I want George to fill out the form, I send this form to George for him to be able to fill out and sign the form. And I would change Martha here to a 2 so that she wouldn't get the form until George was through with his, and then she would be able to get them at that time. So it allows you to set hierarchy orders of being able to send forms out. And also in DocuSign, how it exactly works, I don't really know. I just know behind the scene now it's allowed in DocuSign to use the same email address for both the sellers or both the buyers. So I could send, as you see, I've got this one. I've got dnugent1014@gmail. I'm using the plus thing that we use as trainers to kind of test things. I'm sending it, if I just drop this plus George off of there, it's the same email address. It picks up dnugent1014@gmail. And that's so it can send to the same one. And that's what this actually will do using that. That's just a way that we have as trainers to kind of test things. All right. Once I'm through there, then I go here and I say, please, here are the, I put, here are the documents that we talked about for listing your property. And then I would put, whatever information I want to put in here for information for there. So I would add whatever I want to say. What is my subject going to be for my email that's going to come across? And my might put here are the listing docs for your signature. And then down in here, I would put something, please call me when you get this so we can go over it again before you sign, whatever information you want to put. Once I'm through with that, then I can click next. And it's going to take me to the next screen, which is going to pull all of these documents up one by one, kind of one right after another. So I can kind of scroll through them one at a time and look at them, add different things to them if I need to, and make any modification or see if I need to make modifications or changes to it. One of the important things right here is this is where, if I had a PDF, this is where I would go in and add different things on the PDF. For example, if Diane was the listing agent on a piece of property and she has her confirmation of agency and she has her name with her client's name in a confirmation of agency, and she sends it to me as a PDF, and I need to go in here and add my buyer over here and my name and check this box, then I could do that as a PDF, because I could come in here depending on what colors these are over here. I could update and modify a document that has the red PDF square in it. I can update it inside, and that's where I have to update it at, is inside of the envelopes. The ones with the blue squares only can be updated or modified in the room itself in the document section. That's the biggest distinction between the two. And I promise you, you'll get hung up on that at some point until you kind of get that flow down. All right. So these are state forms that are interactive. So I don't have to add anything extra to them. They're already done. All the signatures, the initials, the date sign, the names, everything is already set up for us. So I don't really have to do anything, but I can look at this, and the yellow down here, if I look by Don's name, it's got a yellow little dot. So that tells me that everything I do here would be done. For example, if I need to add a signature box and I drug it out here, it's going to automatically be Don Nugent's signature because it's yellow. If I want to switch over to George, when I switch over to George and I drag George's signature out here, it's going to be his because it's blue. So if you look on these state interactive forms that here, you look down here, because I used pre-tag roles, this blue is going to have George's signature in there. The yellow is going to have Don Nugent's signature in there. Remember in dot loop, when we added an extra signature initials, I had to go tell it who was going to be for those signatures. These automatically populate those for you according to the color codes that you have in here. So if I had George in here, if I had Martha in here, if I had Della in here as the listing broker, then I have maybe the sellers and the buyers, whoever I have in here, all the players I have would have a different color swatch here so I could choose from. In this particular case, now, bear in mind, I don't have to do anything because this form is ready. It's ready for it to sign. I go down to my right to list. It's all ready. I've already filled it all out. Now, what would happen, just a scenario, what would happen if I came in here and I forgot to fill out this section in here that says the word description of 150,000? I cannot update this form inside of this field. Why? Because it's a blue form document and it can only be filled out or updated in the room document section itself. So that's why it's important when I'm filling out those forms to go through, look at them. If I bring it in here and I see that it's not filled out in here, then I can go up here. I can click on save and close or discard and go back into the form, recreate it, and bring it back over. That's the only way I can change this form inside of here if it's a blue form. So I go through, I fill out all the documents in here, or review everything. That just gives us another chance to review to make sure everything's done and taken care of. From here, if I want to see all of the forms, you can see it now. So this is kind of a little new thing that happened too in the last few days, how I can look at both signatures. I can look at mine and George's in here. But if I had Martha in here and I want to see Martha's, it may have fixed that too. I don't have Martha in here, but if I wanted to see exactly what she's going to see or George is going to see, I can click on recipient view and I can actually go through and say, this is exactly what George is going to get when he gets the document sent to him. So I can look through here. He's going to get this. It's going to tell him to start, and he's going to go down through and it's going to show him right where he needs to sign, anything that he needs to do. If he's got to fill out a section, it's going to have a section there for him and so forth. So I can actually, if I want to go look at that, and I might suggest that the first time or two till you get used to it, maybe click on it. I was telling the other day, about 3 weeks ago, I did my first offer in here. It took me about 30 minutes longer than I normally would take because I took my time, went through, did a few of these things. All right, once I'm through, I click on send. It's going to now create this documents for me to send. It's going to send the envelope and it's going to mail it out by electronic mail over to, in this case, George or Martha, whoever was on the list. In this case, it was George. It's going to pull me up this window here now in my document room or envelope rooms section. And it's going to show me what envelope I just sent. And it's going to show me that I sent 5 documents and I sent it to 2 people. And here's the date and time that I actually sent it. I need to sign it, so it tells me that Don Nugent needs to sign. When I click on this window up here, it's going to bring up for me to sign. I click on sign, and it's going to bring me up the documents and prepare them for me to sign, and brings me up for the documents for me to sign. Your clients will get a button here. Hopefully, I'm going to jump across there in a second and show you that what the clients look like. But they would click a little button right here that says they accept the terms. I'm going to click on to continue. This is why I always put in my notes over there for the clients to call you before they start signing, because if they click start, it's going to go to the bottom. I always say, when you get it, let's scroll through and look at this, see what needs to be signed, and let's go over the documents before we actually sign them. Then when I click start signing, it takes me to the first sign spot, and it automatically does mine because remember I set my signature already up inside of DocuSign, so it knows my signature already. So it's not going to ask me to build up a section of accept my signature and so forth. Once I do, I click finished and I've signed mine. And then as soon as I do that as a client, they're going to automatically get an email back that's going to show them that they've signed these documents. All right, questions so far? I've talked a lot. All right, so now if I want to look at the listing, see what's going on, I can go back to this envelope. If I'm in my documents, when I come in my documents, there's still nothing's changed over here. The documents in this section, I still have my documents I created. There are my listing documents. They're all blue. I go to my room documents. They're only my 3 checklists that I left in my room. There's nothing else new there. All right. So I go back to so nothing's going to happen. My signed documents will not come back into my room until every document is signed. So I come back here, there's nothing there. I look here, I see we're still waiting on George Washington to sign them. He says, I call him and says, what happened? He says, I had never seen them. I can hit resend and send them right back to him right here. All right, so what I want to do now is I'm going to jump over here to Now, are y'all able to still see, are y'all able to see my email now? Okay. All right. So now this is what you're going to see on the client side. I jumped into another email, and it's actually mine. So George is going to get an email that says, just like what I just said, here's the listing of documents for your signature. And then whatever information I would have put at the bottom is there. George is going to get this, and it's very simple for the client side. They're going to click on review document. When it clicks on review documents, it's going to open those documents up in that same window like I had. With exception is, I'm not sure why I need this. I don't need my current location. All right. The only difference between mine and the client is they're going to get this right here. It says, do they agree to use the electronic records and signatures? They click yes, and then they click continue. And then now they're at the same place I was a minute ago. This is why I say, let's go through it with them before they sign. Because as soon as they do, they're going to click start signing. It's going to take them to the first spot. Then it's going to allow George now, it'll allow him to update his signature that needs to be. And let's just say his name, I think we found out the other day, George Washington didn't have a middle initial, but just say if it was George Edward Washington, I can come in here and I can add the middle initial. Just remember, all I'm doing is changing his signature. I'm not changing the name on the docs. So if I need to update the docs, I need to go back and do that. But let's just say I'm going to use George E. Washington. I click on adopt to signature. And then now I'm going to click on next. And it's just going to buzz me through initials and signing all the way through. All right. And I click here and it's done. And then when I do, I click finish. And when I click finish, it's going to ask George, do you want to save a copy of these documents? Do you want to sign in? You put no thanks. What you can tell your clients, they do not have to accept anything right there, because what happens next is inside the room itself, it's going to come here and it's going to come back. If I can see how to refresh this screen, let's see if I can do it right there. All right, so it's going to come back in here, and now it's going to send George a list of the documents. It's going to say you viewed those documents, and it's going to show you here, and it's going to give, let's see where, I'm at, the reason why I'm getting double things here, because I'm actually looking, I'm in my own documents. So it's bringing me my notifications that I have turned on over there to show me when George signed those documents. So I've got it turned on so I can see that he's completed them, and he's completed that checklist and it's went in there. But what would happen with George is he's going to also get a deal in here, and is automatically going to get those documents emailed back to him. So he'll have those for him in here without having to accept a copy or do anything. All right, so can you see me back at the room now? All right, so in the room, when I refresh my room, then you're going to see now I'm in my documents. It's going to show now that both section is completed. So it's going to say George Washington is signed. It's got a check box. It's going to show he's completed. It's going to show Don Nugent's completed. You know, I can go up here and I can look at the envelope history. If I need to see the history, I can see the envelope history and so forth of it. The difference now between .loop and DocuSign is once this form is signed, it's going to bring it back into my documents room, but it's going to put it in the room folder. So in .loop, it kept versioning of it. So it would bring, if I sent out the confirmation of agency, when it came back, the one that was signed was on top of this one, and the other one was kind of hidden behind it. DocuSign does not do that. It brings it back in here into my room with my confirmations of agency, and now it brings documents with little green squares in them that says signed. So now when a document gets signed, they come back here signed. So now that's the documents that we get and pull into command. So only those documents that have the signed mark will show up in my pick list over in command for me to pull over. Or if I look at, let me see if I can move this screen around here so I can see that side here. I got a bar hiding my top up here. I'll move it down here at the bottom. All right, so when I go back into command and I want to move those forms over, when I click in command, this is the same way that we've always done. I come here and say, if I want to have my right to list, I click on this button, drop down here. Whoop, forgot about that. I need to go right here and I say I'm going to click on DocuSign, and I want to use the DocuSign forms. I can pull up the archive if I need to. I can add a document and so forth. So I pull up my forms. When I click on my drop down, now the only thing that's going to show up in this pick list are the ones over here that have the green symbols around them, or one that's red PDF. The reason why there could be a red PDF, it could be the scenario that I gave you that Diane had sent me a confirmation of agency with her clients on there. I added my people in there with the section, and I'll show you how to do that next. I add my people in there, then it would save it as a red form over in here. And so it would either be one that's signed as completed here or one that has the PDF. So when I get in here and I want to do the right to list, I scroll down here and look for my right to list. And there it is. I select it. I go down next and grab my confirmation of agency. And I go down here and find my confirmation of agency, and there it is. And then I just continue uploading the forms that I need. Once I get all my forms that I needed for the listing, I would submit it to the office, and then I would go on about my business for the next listing or whatever I'm doing. All right, questions so far? Any confusion? It's just different. It's definitely a different flow. I really like the way it works, but it's totally a different flow. All right, so what I want to do now is I'm actually going to bring in a form in here and show you how I would do a PDF to update it. All right, so if I'm in here and now I want to bring in, I've got an offer. And so I'm going to bring in this offer. And I think I have one already set up in here of an offer I did the other day. Let's see. I think it's this one right here. This came out of the MLS. I had a client that we were making an offer on a property, had multiple documents here. So now these are multiple documents. This is the confirmation of agency plus maybe a property condition disclosure, I think was in this one. So now I want to fill out these forms. Now remember, it's red here, so I cannot fill it out in this document room section. Okay. So I'm going to go into my envelopes and say, when I'm in my envelopes, I see, and I'm going to show you the other way of doing it. If I'd have checked it at the top, I could have gone to that drop down, the little, let me back up and I'll show you that. If I'm here, the two ways that I can move them to the envelope, if I'm in my document room, my room's document tab, I can select this multiple documents tab. When I select on the multiple documents, then I can go here and I can click create an envelope. Or I can go straight to my envelopes here. And I don't have anything in here. So it's just a blank, clean slate. It shows my listing docs that I did. I say, well, now I'm going to make a new envelope. And this envelope is going to be offer or whatever. I've been doing this just for myself, just so I can do it for training. So if I do offer, and I think today's the 25th or 26th. I think 26. I'm not sure. I'll just do that. So I'll put offer the 26th. So I look here and I say, all right, what are my documents? And it was multiple list documents there. I click on up. Well, let me do it back up. Let me back up. Let me discard this. The one thing I can do with this which makes it a little bit, you just got to remember, and you see, I actually forgot it because I'm learning just like you as we go through here. So when I'm in this document right here, when I highlight this document at the top, I can go up and look at different things of the document, or I can look at my actions over here, right there. I do. Well, maybe it's still back over there. Let me look. Sorry, I'm kind of jumping here. I was going to show you the splitting documents. At one point, they were going to move it into here, where I could actually come here and I could actually split the documents here. So I'm going to see if, I moved it a little. Move it back into here, and we're going to try this. And I'm going to just do my offer. And the 26th, grab my document. and multiple documents. All right, now I'm going to click on this multiple document tab, and I click on actions. I'm going to see, but I don't think this will work. Hold on, bear with me 1 second. I want to just see, and then I'll come back here. So in my room here, back in my room for that multiple document form, I'm looking for the ability to actually split that document, and it was right here in this section. And so I'm here, and I'm going to open my document. There it was. I just had to open it up all the way here. All right, so when I'm opening it up here, when I click on that document, I click on the actions that I can do in here. There are a variety of things that I can do with that document. I cannot edit it. I'm not really sure why the edit function here, because if I click on edit, it brings me up the little windows of them, and I really can't do anything with them. It shows that I can look at them and so forth, but I can't do anything. I can't edit or change those. So I'm going to bring my form back up here. And so I'm going to open up my multiple document form, and I want to split these into two. And so I'm going to do the split. I can move them, copy them. I could email it out, download it, and so forth, or create an envelope from there. But I want to split these into multiple documents. So if I look, when it pulls up, it's going to bring me a thumbnail of them. So the first document here is my confirmation of agency. The next documents in here are my property condition disclosure. So I'm going to come here. I'm going to do COA, and then this is my property condition disclosure. All right. So I know this one is 1 through 1, and this one here is 2 through 6. And so now when I save this, it's going to actually split these two documents on the front end for me. So now I've got, when I look at my room docs in here, I have two documents in there. There's my property condition disclosure, and there is my confirmation of agency. So now I want to send these two, and I need to modify these two to send for my clients to get signatures on them. So it's going to pull me up. This is assuming that this is what I had one the other day where I was making an offer on a piece of a property, and I'm just going to put in offer so we can kind of work through this one. So I'll put offer for today, and I look at, here's my confirmation of agency. There's my property condition disclosure, and I'm going to send it to, I don't have pre-tag rows. Well, there's not a pre-tag rows because these are PDF documents and there are no pre-tag rows on them. So I need to assign who the room participants are to use here. So I'm going to use Don Nugent as the listing agent, George Washington as the selling agent, and I'm going to add the selected. Then I would come in here, and I'm not going to fill this out, but I would come in here, put my email subject in here, my email message in here, and then I'm going to go next. When I go to next, it's going to bring me up the two documents that I just created or just split. I didn't create them. I actually had another agent email these documents for an offer that my clients were going to make on this piece of property. So when I come in here, it shows me now the first one that comes up, this is Don Nugent's because it's green, yellow. I can go over to George because it's the blue looking color. So if I need to add names or do things in here, I can update these. So this is the confirmation of agency form in here. So in here, the client, the sellers of the property, and the agent, Amy has already signed it. So I need to put my clients' names and information on there. So I want to put George's name in here, the buyer name. All I got to do is click on the buyer, move the buyer's name over here, and it's going to put George Washington in there. If I want to put Don Nugent's name on there, I click on Don Nugent. I put Don Nugent's name here, and I click on it, and I bring Don Nugent over here. So now when that form fills out, it's going to have George's name and my name there. All right. I want to sign this, so I click on sign. Here is Don Nugent as the selling agent. I click on George, and here is George as the buyer. Here's the only thing I want to point out right here. All right. So when I'm in here, if I'm in a PDF and I put my signatures on there, it will not auto-populate the date here. But if it's in a state interactive form, then the date field is automatically put in there for us. Like dot loop automatically puts the date and time in there. All I need to do is when I put Don Nugent here, I just grab this date signed and I drop the date signed right there. And I'm going to go back to Don's. And I'm going to do the date sign and I'm going to put Don's right there. Now I don't have to fill these out here. When I sign this field right here, it's going to automatically stamp the date in there for me. I just have to remember if it's a PDF, I have to manually put the date signed in there, field in there. So now I go through the property condition disclosure. Once I get the property condition disclosure, the only thing I need to do is add my client's signatures to the bottom. So I'll go over here and I put George and I say his signature goes right here. And I say George signed it. And here is the date and time he signed it to go there. And if I had Martha in here, I would click on Martha, drop Martha down and drop Martha's signature there. And then once I'm through, I hit send and the documents get sent off just like it did earlier. So it goes through, it sets up the envelope, mails that envelope out through the email signature portion, and it comes back. And now completed documents here. I show my offer document there with Don Nugent's signature needed. I click on here, sign. It's going to create Don's sign thing and bring that document up for me to click on continue, start signing, and it's going to bring me to my only spot I needed to sign. And see how it automatically had already put the date and time in there. It automatically did that when I opened this up for my signature. And I click on finish. And then now my portion of this envelope is finished. And now it's actually over here waiting on George to sign them. So then when I look at the envelope, it shows green is completed. George says waiting on others. I can open up and see what we're waiting on from George. All right, questions so far? Oh my gosh, y'all. I need more coffee too, right? Comments? Steve, what was I see you sent a couple things on here. What was your questions? I didn't get to see those when they popped up. I think Steve, you still there? All right. One of the other things I'll point out here is too, if I pull up my people section, I can go in here and add additional people. So if I'm, if I have a client, if I have a team, or if it's a husband and wife team, or if it's like Lee Gillig's team and Tony is actually doing the offer on the property and so forth, she can come in and add Lee in here and add the roles where they can access the forms and be able to see that everything that's going on inside this DocuSign room. Now, the one thing to remember is everything from an office standpoint, we're not over here inside of DocuSign looking at your room, checking and see what's going on over here. Our work is done over here on this side, because once you submit things from the office, we come into this side where Jan and Della and Raleigh and Pat and so forth come in over here and approve the listings, approve the offers and so forth. And we're not doing any approving and so forth on this side. So when you create those envelopes and create those rooms and documents in here, everything's inside of here. I keep stressing it's important, in my opinion, it's important when I look at this room, when I go back into my documents in that room, you'll see that I have a listing document folder up here because I created that, but all the other documents come back into this room. So from a management standpoint, I'm gonna start, I'm gonna start moving documents and things around. So if I've got signed documents, I can move these once I've moved them over into Command, I'm actually going to move these out of my room and have a signed document folder. So I can, create a different folder that would have my signed documents so I can help organize it a little better. So it's going to be a little bit more work on our end on organization from doing folders, if that's the way you like to do it. I talked to several agents that were doing this and they didn't mind. They had all their documents into one big room documents folder. My simple mind can't focus around that. I wanted to break mine up into different folders and rooms. So I have a listing document folder, I have an offer document folder and so forth, just kind of like we had with over in .loop. So what questions might you have at this point? Anything in particular that you've been experiencing? Have you tried anything? What may of this you may not understand or need me to go over a little bit different or better for you? One thing, let me point out while thinking of that, also, when I sign these documents, it's going to automatically create a certification listing summary. Like this, my folder was the listing documents. When I click on this certification, it's going to automatically create this and put this in your room, and it will show you all the forms that were sent out for signatures, who signed them, what time they were signed, what was the IP address of the machine that they were sent to, and so forth. So we can look at all those documents in a certification document that comes here that's actually sent to you. So just kind of a recap, you're going to get 3 different colored forms in here. Blue forms are the state interactive forms. State or office forms, they're the ones that automatically created, auto-populate with your interactive information. The red forms will be PDFs that you download. The blue forms, I can fill them out in the documents room, inside the documents tab in the room. If I get a PDF that comes in here from another client, property condition disclosure, confirmation of agency, whatever, counter offers, whatever it may be, I have to put that in. When I get that, I can only update those in an envelope because that's where I add signatures and so forth. And then the last type of form you get in here are the green ones, and they are the completed forms that once everything is signed. So as you see, when I bring these forms over here, it actually even changes the name of this form. Let's see if I can bring one. I'll do this confirmation aid so you can see it. It actually changes the name of that form and adds the word signed behind it. So not only is it green, it actually shows me the word signed. So when I'm bringing them into Command from over here, that's actually what I'm pulling up and looking for. So if I look up for the TAR disclaimer, when I go down here and I'm looking for the 304, and there's form 304, and you can see it says, this one has from the seller. It says for me to, and again, that's the only ones I can pull in is the green ones that come in here or a PDF.
Don, would you go over with me again how you're creating the folders to organize?
Yes. So if I'm over in here and I've got my here are my forms that are in here. So if I got my listing here's my main room, that's what's going to come up. And maybe I want to have an offer folder. So I've got a listing folder. So the next thing I would do is create an offer folder. So I go up here to the top and I click on add. I click on actions. And in the actions folder, I'm going to click on add folder. And I'm just going to call it offer. And then I'm just going to create. So, if I have multiple offers, I would put offer Smith, and then offer Jones or whatever I might do, however I'm doing to control those. All right. And then as I got those offer documents in here, then I would just from there, just move them up into that folder. So there's an offer folder with no documents in there. Okay.
Thank you.
If I'm in here, let's just assume that, remember when I talked to you over here about creating this, when I first created the opportunity and I did this drop down right here, what if I forgot to do the drop down? What if I created the folder without the drop down? What would happen then? All right. So if I did that, if I created one, this is kind of, let me just show you how to be probably quicker and easier just to do one real quick. I'm going to click on create an opportunity. And I'm going to I'll put my wife in this one. If I can find her in here. I used that one. All right. So I put my wife in there and I'm going to put a closing date out here. Just grabbing something again. And 400,000 budget. Oh, would help if I choose the type. I'm just going to put a buyer for this one. And I'm going to say active, and they're in here, and there are showing property. Or maybe I'm at this point, it doesn't really matter at that point. All right, so I create this. So I create this one here, and I come here and I don't fill out the details because I don't really have a property address yet. I come in here over here in the documents and I say, well, golly, we're going to go make an offer on property. I don't choose this pick list. I go straight here. I click DocuSign, and I'm going to show you what happens, excuse me, over in DocuSign. It's going to go into my DocuSign room. It's going to create me a room. And when it does, voila, there's nothing in this room. There are no documents there because I didn't choose anything right here. And I said, oh, that was residential. I'll go back and do this. And then now there are my template for all my documents there. But when I go back to this room, it's still nothing there. What do I do next? So I came in here and created something for you. When I go into add documents and I click on my document forms, and when it does that, it's going to pull me up my libraries. So I can go down here and choose them one at a time if I want. But I created some packets up here. I have a contract packet for residential, a contract packet for land and lot, and one for new construction. Then I have a listing packet for residential, listing packet for land and lot, and new construction one. But then I also put one for just market center disclosures. So this is a contract. So if I want a contract for residential, when I click on that, it's going to bring me up all the residential documents on the side. As you see, when I click on them, they change according to what's in that pick list. When I click on this and say, well, I need all these documents, I click that for all of them. I click add, and it's going to bring me all those documents in here for me. So I even added that in there for you in here. So like if you're in here and you need a disclosure form for the Keller Williams office, for the Spring Hill office, I click on my DocuSign forms. It's going to pull me up those. I can go to disclosure. I can go down and look for it down here if I want. But if I click on disclosures, it has just the disclosures. And I need a Spring Hill disclosure, and I click on it. And there it brings in the disclosure. So you can modify or update your form list just like I did there. And just remember from here, if I was ready to if we're going to make an offer, this is doing what Barbara's asking for. I'm going to put offer for 123 Main. And I'm going to create, or I could put the date or whatever I need to do that. And then I would just move those forms up there. So maybe I wanted to have, here's my offer form. There's my, I don't need to buy a rep to go up there, but I need my offer, confirmation vacancy. I need disclaimers and so forth, whatever I need up there. And I'm just grabbing some now. Let's say if I needed all those up there, and then I'm going to move them up, not email. Let me close this. And I'm going to move them. And I'm going to move them to my folder. And I'm going to move them to my offer folder. And then from there, I would move them to finish filling them out, move them to my offer and send them. So if you see something as you're going through here that you think would make it a little easier for your flow to through, let me know, because it may be something we can do. So we've been kind of building this as we go, trying to get it set up. So, so there are maybe other things that we can add and change in here that may definitely help you, help you in the future as we go through. All right, what questions?
Don, I have a quick question. Would you recommend that because that certification comes out, do you recommend that we sign last or that we sign first? Does it matter?
It doesn't really matter. I was just showing you how you could do it in there. It's really your preference when you sign before last. I mean, I've even seen some agents that like to sign the form before they ever even send it to their client. The only difference with that is if we do it in DocuSign, is your clients don't even see who signed yet. For example, if I send it to to you and your husband and myself, and I sign it first or last or whenever, when you get the document, all you're going to see is your spot for you to sign. Even if your husband has already signed, you're not going to see that. You don't get to see the final result until it's totally over with and back to you, So that's the only other interesting different thing that kind of happens in there. So from a DocuSign standpoint, it really doesn't matter. I guess is what I'm saying.
Okay, thanks.
All right. What other questions? I want to talk briefly about what do you do about your old loops and things from .loop, but I don't want to go too fast if you got a question or something in here. No questions? Okay. All right. So .loop. So as I mentioned earlier, come next Monday, we will not have access to any new forms in .loop. What does that mean to you? Diane has old transactions in here, loops and so forth in .loop. She wants to download and have, or let's just say she's got a current one she's working right now. That's probably the first scenario that's best. You're actually working something in .loop, and what am I going to do come Monday when I can no longer, I can still get into .loop and I can still get into my old forms, but I cannot create a new form. For example, if Diane's in there and all of a sudden she needs to do an amendment to the contract, maybe an contract extension date for a closing. It's set up to close on, maybe November the 15th, and something's come up and she's got to move that to the 25th. So if she comes Monday and she goes to go into .loop and she goes to pull down a new form to do that extension, she will not be able to do that because we will not have access to those state forms starting Monday. So what she would have to do, she would have to log directly into DocuSign. Remember when I talked about over here, when I was in this and I create this transaction, once I create the opportunity, if Diane creates that opportunity over here and she does it in .loop, then it's going to be locked. This transaction is locked to .loop. Okay. So she would have to go over here and log directly into DocuSign. So she would type in real estate .docusign.com and she would log in here. And once you've logged in, I know I've got multiple things open and it's kind of playing havoc on me today. All right. So once I log in here, why does it do that? Let me just see if I can get in here. If I can spell, it would help to get in there too. All right. So I go into real estate, not real tracks. All right, I go into real estate, docusign.com, and maybe it won't give me an error this time. It's still showing me an error. I got too many things open. Try this. There we go. All right, so it's going to bring me into here is my dashboard for DocuSign. When I'm in my dashboard, then I can come in here and I can then, create a new room. So when I get into my rooms, now as my rooms that are here, it's going to let me say, all right, what rooms do I have? Here's my new rooms. I'm going to create a new room. I would click on create a new room. And then once I click the new room, I would name my room. So if Diane had a room for, 703 First Avenue in Columbia, then she would create that room. Once she's created a room and saved it, then she would go back into that room, just like I was showing you earlier, into my rooms, and then just go download that one document that she needs, and then she wouldn't have anything in there. It'd be a blank room like I was showing. And then she would click on that, download that one document, get it signed. And once she had it all signed, then she would download it to her desktop. And then she's over in here and she needs to bring it into here. Once she does that, she would just click over here and say, well, I'm going to go up here and I'm going to actually get it from my computer because I've downloaded it to my desktop. I come in here, I browse my desktop and I find my confirmation of agency form. And so if I come here, and I'm just going to see if I've got something I can grab in here. Yeah, I'll just do this one. This was an offer info form that I had for one. So I click on that offer info form, and just assume that was my confirmation of agency. Then I would bring that form in there. I'm gonna remove that switch out. So that's the way she would have to do in that case. All right. So what if these are old transactions, old loops, and she wants to save those? All right. So there's a couple of ways to do that. So I'm gonna go into dot loop. And when I get into dot loop, I can do 2 or 3 different things. And I'm going to show you kind of each one of those is a little bit different. Okay. So I'm in my loop. And let's just say that I'm Lena, and Lena only has maybe, and I'm just picking, say Lena has 2 loops that she wants to download. Okay. Then all I would do is I'd go in here, I'd find those 2 loops. And maybe if I need the one here from 3002 Helfrich, then I would just pull up this one. I would click on, this was an offer we did. I would just click on the offer deal right here. I'd click on download and I'd download those forms. Then I would save it. I wouldn't do anything different than that. Maybe I only have 2 or 3 to download. I would go do that. All right. Or she could be in here. That's probably the simplest, easiest way to do if you only have a handful. If I'm in here with the Jonathan Kramer one, for example, and I've got multiple other things in here. See, I've got a lot of documents on this one. When I click on that, I could click on download, or I could come here to the bottom and I could add myself in here with another email address. I could add in here and put Don Nugent with maybe a Outlook email address or whatever. And that would give me access to those loops, just the forms. The simplest is to do here and download. That's only if you have a couple. But what if I have a whole bunch? Maybe if I have 20 or 30 or 50 or whatever I wanted to do, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do that? Then I would come up here and go to the top, and I would click on my name, and I would go to my account. And when I click on my account, I go to the bottom and I click on apps. And when I click on apps, and there's a direct link into that I actually put on a Facebook post the other day. But when I go here, I click on go to our app directory. These are all the app things that are out here that's associated with APIs from .loop that will download and bring things in. So you'll see there's all kind of stuff out here. But I would go down and I could just type in Google, but I'm gonna go down here and I'm gonna find the Google Drive or Google Backup. When I click on learn more, it's going to tell me what this one will actually do. It's going to back up your .loop loops, your participants and people to individual sheets, and it's going to create a report and graph for those sheets. There's Stephen mentioned the other day, and I'm not sure which one he downloaded or which one you'd have to grab, but there are others. Let's see, let me go back here. There are others that will back up the whole form. He said he got one with only links. This still says sheets, but there's one of these, and I was thinking it was the Google Drive or Google Backup. It will bring it out. The sheets, all it does is brings it down to an Excel spreadsheet with all the players in it and the addresses and so forth, but it doesn't bring your documents. One of these 2 here are supposed to bring all your documents down. My suggestion, Steve, I think had a little bit of an issue with the other day that it didn't bring all of his forms down. But what I did in the past is I used the Google Backup, and it actually pulled everything down into my Google Drive, and it set everything up into exactly mirrored copy that looked exactly like it did inside of my loops here. When I went into my loops, they looked just like this, had the names just like that there, along with all the documents in the folders and so forth. So you can back those up. It's for an individual agent, it's like $20 a month to do this backup. My suggestion is back those up. Once you get them all backed up, then you can cancel the subscription if that's what you need to do. So if you need to back all those up, for example, Diane may be backing these. She may have hard copies. She may have backed things back up on her computer in the past and don't need all this. Then you don't have to do that. But I just want to show you just in case that you need to back up some of this information and need it. Now, if the Trek comes in and says, I need to see everything about this loop right here for Jonathan Kramer at 2324 Redwood Trail, and they come into the office has those forms from the office standpoint. They're backing those up. If you need your own copy kept of these and you're keeping records for the last 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, whatever you're keeping copies of, then you need to be sure and download and bring those. For example, let's say that Diane too, every January, she goes out and sends things she sends for all of her buyers for the last year, she sends their settlement statement in there so they can have for their taxes. So she could go in and pull those out. If you want to have access to that kind of information, you need to back those and download those up. So, all right, questions? Y'all are just extremely too quiet this morning. It's Monday. We need coffee, right? Anybody actually been in doing any DocuSign before now? I know Raleigh's played with it a little bit. Della's been in there. We're part of the lab things going in, so we had to. And please understand, I'm learning just like y'all as we go. The last month, I've spent a lot of time in here and a lot of time watching videos and talking to people to try to get this to this point. So,
Don, when are your next classes just like this?
okay, I'm doing another one tomorrow from 10 to 12. Then I'm doing one tomorrow night from 6 to 8 for agents that are maybe dual career agents and so forth. We've actually, I've got this one copied here that I've recorded, but I'm also going to go out and and create some things. I'm going to go out and create some additional videos and kind of walk through on top of this recording. And then on Wednesday from 9 until 12, I'm having an open Q&A. I won't just do a session just like this unless it needs to be, but I'll be in case, say, Barbara, if you're in here and you've been doing something and you have a specific question, you can hop in and out. You don't have to be on at 9. You could drop on at 11 if you wanted to. I'm just going to be, I'm going to have my whole thing open for 3 hours for just questions popping in and out. And if you're trying to download something or have problems with signatures. And then on Monday, the 1st, when we have the changeover, I'm quite sure that's when everybody will probably be ready to panic, because, you may sit back and wait. And then all of a sudden Monday, it's like, oh my gosh, I got this deal I got to put in. I can't find the forms. Then I'm going to do a 4-hour section Monday morning from 9 to 1. And I'm just going to be sitting here online. So if you have any kind of problem or question, you can just pop in and out. Hey, I'm trying to write an offer. How did you say that I got a PDF? Where did you say I put signatures? How do I do that? There's other things that I haven't shown in here. How you can add signatures and initials, and how I can copy them and paste them all the way through the pages, just like we did with Dotloop. So, I'm just going to be available for any of those kind of things that you might have. And then if something comes up in between, I'm trying to get as much information as I can out this week. So, and be as available as possible. So I figured this was the best way to do it, was kind of swing it out and do it on a Zoom. That way you can jump in and out from wherever you're at, Any more questions? I'm trying to kind of glance at the notes and things, the chat. I really wasn't watching the chat as much as I should have been. Yeah, I'm looking back through. And I apologize, when I started this, I forgot to share my screen right off, Steve also had made a comment, and I didn't think about that. I can also right click on top of the documents, and that will give me information out to the access. And it's kind of like I always told before, when we start talking about, if I'm going to ride from my house to the office in Spring Hill, how do I get there? I can go out Kreitz to 31 and get there, or I can go down Clayton Arnold and go across and cut in there. So there's different ways to actually get there. So if I right click on the document, and so I want to find out the actions, maybe remember I was wanting to split that document earlier. So if all I got to do when I'm on top of that document, if I right click on it, it brings me that list of things in there where I can right click it. Oh, there we go. I can right click it. I can split it, move it, copy it, email it. I actually like this because I filled out one for my client the other day, and she had told me what she wanted to make an offer on the property. It was really interesting because they were considerably less than offering. And I was trying to convince them that was not our market right now. So before I actually sent it to them for signatures, I right-clicked on it. I clicked on email and it pulled up that document that I wanted to email. I sent it to their email and then I called her and said, all right, let's go over this document again. Here's the price you said. Are you sure that that's what you want to do in this market before I actually send it for her signature? So there, again, there's a couple of ways to do that. So, instead of having to say, well, what do I do? And I got a little lost a second ago. I'm like, okay, why can I not find that when I'm clicking through these documents? And I actually
Hey,
would
Don?
have to have the document open and right click. Yes.
Hey, it took me a minute to get my microphone unmuted. Couple of things that I do. One, you're in this icon visual mode of each document. If you click on the 3 bars up at the top right-hand corner, and then you want
Correct.
that list view,
Yes.
I love that view.
Yeah.
So just easier to see.
Yeah.
Another pointer, when you set up your documents, you got them on, and then you set up your players or recipients,
Mhm.
right? I don't actually assign who those players are till I get to the next screen, because at that first screen, you click on the left-hand side to get your players, right? And then you go over to the little drop-down box on the right, and you want to put in a name. You're going to get this long list of email addresses, not just the players in that
And where are you talking about, Steve?
contract. So if you go into a document or add a document,
And you in the blue documents?
it doesn't matter, whatever you want to set up. Sure, go ahead and set one up.
All right, I'll just grab this one.
And then assign you're going to do pre-signed roles.
Oh, you talking about going into the envelope? Okay, I got you. Let me get out of this.
Sorry about that. Yes.
That's okay. And I'm going to do, I'll just hopefully, I don't know what I might have filled out. But
And you can right click on those too. There you go. And that will give you your
I'm
options.
going to go to the envelope. It does the same thing as the top. That's what I said. There's a couple of ways to get there.
Mhm.
All right. And I'm not going to change the top. All right, there. And you talking about here?
Add recipients.
Okay, which one are you talking about? You're not doing pre-tag?
Go ahead and do pre-tagged roles.
Gotcha.
Now at this point, I just use the left-hand side to assign who the players are. I don't touch the right. Nope, nope, nope. Left side.
Okay.
Put on your pre-sign and then, okay, now add selected next screen. And it comes up. At this point, I click on the little box and see now I'm limited. You don't have like 100 email addresses out there to find.
Yeah.
These are your pre-tagged folks in the transaction.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's
I've never
much
tried.
simpler to see.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I've never tried that one. That's
That's what I do. I just look out to the roll on the right and I click to the left. And so
I had seller, but that wouldn't be my seller, but yeah, I get the gist of it. Yeah.
see the far right rolls.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have a seller in this one, but if Karen was a seller there, I would do that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I do. It's one step.
Yeah.
Think easier for
That's
me.
that's a neat one. I like that, Yeah.
I did
We hadn't
try.
even talked about how you can send messages and all. We hadn't quite gotten to that point, but yeah.
So I tried sending a few different things back and forth to myself and to Joseph Baldwin to sign documents, and that's been going pretty good.
Yeah, I like that. That's a little smoother. Yeah, because you're right. If I use the pre-tag roles here, when I come here and I'm going to select like a seller there, and I select this here and I do this drop down, it pulls.
Look at all that stuff.
It pulls even admin office stuff.
Yeah, that's confusing to my brain.
Yeah, yeah. So it does pull a little larger list there for you. Good point. Yeah, thanks. That's a good deal. Good catch.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm in DocuSign and I don't have any templates. Do I have to make up my own templates?
No. Now, Diane, let me get out of this. Let me close it. So have you set up your NERDS number in there and made that connection?
Well, I've looked, I've got a lot of information, but I didn't see, I have account number. But I didn't see where to put my NERDS number in.
All right. If you see in my screen right now, go to the top onto the drop down there for Don. Go to preferences.
Hang on, let me see.
All right.
I'm watching this on my phone and playing on my computer.
That's a
So
fun part.
it's really small.
Yeah. All right. So go at the top, you probably won't have a photo in there, but you'll have like DB up there. It'll just have your initials. When you click on that, go to the middle one that says preferences. Okay. Tell me when you get there.
Hang on. I'm not where you are.
Okay. Tell me what you're seeing when you do your drop down up here at the top. Tell me what you see in that drop down. What wording is it saying?
It just has my name and my email address.
And then below there, does it say
And
contact?
this is log out. Now, maybe I'm in the wrong place.
All right. Do you have a deal that says switch to rooms?
Nope. No, and maybe, are you in command?
No, I'm in DocuSign. I'm over
Okay.
inside of DocuSign itself.
Okay, maybe, let me go.
And how did you get into DocuSign? Did you go real estate DocuSign.com or did you come into command? It really doesn't matter. I'm curious.
I couldn't tell you how I did it. Let me go back up here to, let's see, real estate.
DocuSign.com.
DocuSign. All right, let's
And y'all, while she's doing this, what this is you can go to DocuSign.com, but there is a total separate, I don't want to say division, but an app area that's strictly designed for real estate, and that's what you log in with, realestate.docusign.com. All right, what you got now, Diane?
Okay, I think now I'm in the right place.
All right, and go down to preferences.
Okay,
All
hang
right,
on.
and then it'll pop you up a window on the far left and go to the very bottom that says integrations.
Integrations. Oh, integrations. Okay.
And then from there, you should on the providers, you probably only have company forms. Or
Let's see.
you
Are
should
you on
say-
that? Is that what I should be seeing?
What's that?
Okay. I need to add providers because I just
That's right.
have.
You probably only have, do you only have one thing that says company forms? Or do you have National Association of Realtors too under provider?
I just have, it says Dropbox, Google Drive, and Box. at
Okay,
the
then you
bottom.
need to click on add provider.
Okay.
And then in the add provider, you'll get this screen that pops up here and it'll have the
Okay.
blue square that says National Association of Realtors. You'll click
Yep.
on that and that's where you add your NERDS number, your last name, and then you'll connect to the Tennessee Association of Realtors.
Okay. All right. Where's Tennessee?
You have
There
to
it is.
scroll way down. It's way on down.
There it
And
is.
there's not a search and there's not an alphabetical order.
I'm gonna have to find my number.
And there should be in there also, Diane, if you don't know your number, there's a search for it right there, right below where you put it in. There's a blue hyperlink that lets you search too. I think it's
Oh,
find your nerds, or I'm not sure what it says. I can't remember off the top of my head.
okay.
And that will validate you. And that you may get I've seen where you get a room with no forms. And I've seen other people get the rooms and get the forms, but when they click on it, it'll tell them they don't have authorization. But then I see some that have no forms, and then they can't even see the forms until they do authorization, the validation. So I don't understand the difference between the two, but I've seen it both ways since we've been doing this. And I think part of it was because we had an agent that had been in DocuSign before, so they were able to at least see the forms, but because they hadn't validated it, they couldn't use them. But a brand new agent didn't even get to see them. It's the only difference I think it was. So,
Hmm.
and then once you make that connection, then you should be able to start seeing your forms and accessing the forms. And it's like Steve said, this is kind of my suggestion from there. pick you a person to, or do it with yourself. If you've got a separate email address, or if you send it to your husband or daughter or something like that, send them back and forwards to see the forms coming back and forwards. Like Steve said, he and Joseph Baldwin did some things back and forwards with each other, just so you see how that the flow works. Be very honest with you. I really like what I've seen so far. I love the way DocuSign is going to work. I love the hierarchy of working some things there. I just feel like that it's going to be, sure, there's a couple things I like in Dotloop better, but there's definitely several things in DocuSign I like better. Once we get used to it, it's the biggest thing is change. It really wasn't some, we have been talking about this with our admin group for over a year, and we've kept pushing this can down the road, kicking it down the road, and we weren't intending on doing anything till sometime, probably even second quarter of next year. But this problem with Dotloop pushed us a little sooner than we were planning on. So
Dotloop's just way too easy.
Yeah. We just gotten so used to it. It's really easy. You're going to find out DocuSign's easy. Now that's the reason I kept stressing the colors of the forms, the blue and the red and the green, because I promise you, Diane, you're going to get in there. You're going to pull a red PDF form in there. You're going to be in the room documents, and you're going to try to update it, and you're going to get frustrated and say, I can't update it. And the only reason is because you can't update it right there. It's just, it flows different. The people that's going to have the big advantage on us is the brand new agents that's never been in Dotloop, because they're going to learn that, and they're going to think it's so simple, and it really is. But because we've done the other way, we're not used to that flow,
Yeah. Okay. So I'm in here, and you said go. I still don't see where I pick up documents.
Okay. What are you at right now, Diane?
Rooms.
All right. If I go into rooms, all right, do me a favor. Let's click at the very top, on the top where it says my documents.
Okay.
Click on my documents there, and tell me, well, when mine loads, click on forms.
Forms. Okay.
Yeah, mine's trying to go. Mine's slow. Do you see a list of stuff there?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So there are all your forms. So you actually have access. You should have about 9 different folders there of forms.
Okay. I see them.
Okay. And when you do those, if you're over in the room and you click on add, then when you click on add, it's going to bring you it'll take you directly into these forms. And from there, you can add them to your room.